for the U.S.?
Right. Many reasons. One, location. Of course, the Panama Canal opened up in 1914, and that increased world trade dramatically, right? And so that was 1914 was an important year for other things that we'll talk about later. But so that's important. Our U.S. Navy needs to be able to get between the seas. Otherwise, we need to, if Taiwan comes under attack and you need to shift naval forces, I mean, you need that canal to get through quickly, right? That's one reason. Another reason is just the trade. I mean, a huge amount of, I can't even say how much trade goes through there now because it's dynamic. Like the Suez Canal and the Red Sea issues have caused things to change. So, you know, the 6% or the 11% that you hear, you know, 1 month ago changes by the next time you're able to check. And so there's that. There's also, it's just a strategic location that where you can influence or even control parts of South America, Central America, or missile strike distance. Northernmost country in South America, we helped Panama. And so, but now with the Darian Gap, they call it the Gap because Highway 1, the Pan American Highway, which goes from Alaska all the way through, it ends at a place called Yavitsa. And Yavitsa is where Highway 1 ends. It picks up again about 60 miles later in a place called Turbo in Colombia, right? And then from there, you can go all the way down to the tip of South America, right?
No
so
problem.
except for that little part, it's well, I mean, you can drive all the way. And right now, Ann Vandersteel and I and others have just been down again to a bridge. They're gonna open that road. This new bridge that they're building, they're opening up a pathway to Colombia. And she just made a little video with her gimbal and her iPhone, and it went viral in Panama. And the Panamanians were shocked that they're opening a highway to Colombia, right? But we were, you know, when I first was telling Panamanian people that last year, I went, you know, I was down there at the Darian Gap at the edge looking at the bridge. I go down there all the time because I sensed that they were able to find, or anybody was able to find. But I kept expecting they were going to open something up. So every time I would go, almost every time I would go to the Darian Gap, I would go to the end of the highway and look for just mud tracks or anything. And sure enough, I went down there and suddenly there's a bunch of mud. And so I followed this little thing, and I'm like, hey, here it is. They're building the bridge. Whipped out the droned it, and said, this is it. And so I went back up to Panama City. I was talking to some people in the government and whatnot, and I was like, look, who's building that bridge? Who's funding it? Nobody seems to know. They're like, there's no bridge being built there. I said, look at the mud on my boots. I was just there like 8 hours ago.
Do you have video of this?
Oh, yeah, I've got tons of video.
Can we put it up here right
Absolutely.
now? All right.
Absolutely. I've got drone footage that we just made 10 days ago. I've got drone footage from last year and numerous
So what
trips.
is the significance of opening that road on that? It sounds like it's a 60-mile gap.
Yep. Well, then you'll have an open path to South America, which means, you know, open shot for Panama is going to get lost. You know, I mean, when I say lost, I mean taken. I mean, Panama is basically a country with a pork chop around its neck, and it doesn't have. It's got a very professional Senafront. Senafront is sort of their army, sort of their border patrol, sort of police. We don't have the equivalent. It's kind of all three. They're trained constantly by Navy SEALs, U.S. and also Special Forces. We just saw some of those down there again, and they've been training them for years. So they're very professional. When you go down there, I think you're going to be actually impressed with Senafront, but they're not strong enough to defend Panama. Not even close,
yeah.
Right? And they're very professional. They've got, you know, limited weapons. They don't have any rockets. They've got no anti-aircraft. They've got no anti-ship missiles. They just don't have the numbers. They're not going to be able to defend Panama. And so Panama, again, that incredibly important piece of real estate, which can be and will be open to South America by land. And by the way, there's a book written by, it was actually clearly sponsored by Chinese, and it was co-authored by a Panamanian economist. And it talks about, it's a softball book on, you know, opening up the Darien and these sorts of things. And you can see the bioceanic corridor map and all these different maps.